about the position of the knee, that you can't put your knees like this because the bullet hits an artery, opens the inside of the leg. It's dangerous. And now we would like to say a few words about this.
Look, everything is very simple here. First of all, I think that the bullet doesn't care which side of your leg is standing on. If you are hit in the leg, it may break an artery. And even if the bullet hits the leg, it doesn't matter from this side. It is the stability of the stance that is the main characteristic of the stance. And in this case, it's clear that the video was filmed spontaneously. Nothing was edited.
Yeah.
I mean, for Quebec subscribers, I understand that there was a question about the provision. And here, please look, I'm barely pushing. And I'm in the prone position on my right side. If you take a position where you maintain a certain angle between your legs, in this case, you are much more stable. But still, I'll tell you honestly, I'm not even pushing it. It's not stable enough in principle. That is, there is still a possibility if someone is near you. He will come, sit down, do something, he will push you. If you have offset firing, a little bit to the side if you want to, this will be a change of knee. This stance is more suitable for shooting behind cover. If we talk about the classic kneeling stance, we take a 90-degree angle between the legs. In this case, your stability is many times higher, even if someone is crouching next to you.
I think...
Let's talk seriously about this point again. Which side you put your foot on will not make a big difference when a bullet hits your leg. The fact that your artery is on this side, believe me, your leg is not such a strong obstacle for the bullet that would keep your arteries safe in a direct hit. It is just a support for this or that side. Your task in this case is to take a stable, good stance so that you can enter the fire.
We will now talk in detail about shooting positions, which is a very important issue because there are still people who are surprised. I mean, for some reason, people still shoot with their feet in a line and people will use automatic fire. So why teach this technique? Which, in principle, does nothing for my subjective opinion in our war realities, because a person will have to be retrained to a combat foot position anyway. And now we want to address the youth, so that you can wish your descendants, future boys who are listening to our dialogues at the age of 14 or 15, give the couple a parade, because in 3 years they will still be fighting.
Well, first of all, my dear young friends, you have to live interestingly, you have to be a spy, train your favorite animal, go to the opera, and live interestingly. Seriously, I wish you not to forget those brave boys, husbands, sometimes even grandfathers, who laid down their lives in battles for Ukraine, for your future, each of them. In his last moment of life, he was sure that he was doing this work for a reason, and your task is to prove it to them. To prove it to them, to their children, prove to them that they were not fighting for some nonsense, but they were fighting for a strong Ukrainian nation that will be formed by you. Because at the moment we are at the stage of history when our nation is still being formed, and it acquires those powerful muscles that will move it forward in time, in history, which will be you. Therefore, all hope is in you, and you are responsible.
And we shape it all together.
And you, the one who is watching this video.
Is the person watching this video.
So, dear friends, look, now we are going to move on to such a topic as arrow acrobatics. It's an important topic because everyone has their own vision on this topic. Someone thinks that it makes no sense and is not needed. Some people believe that this is the basis of a shooter's skill, how well he can move with a weapon and so on. In my vision, this is only one stage, and the part of the entire firearms training that everyone should know and pass. This is Kung Fu. Every Kung Fu has its own. I want to share mine. I hope that it will appeal to everyone because I base this issue on fundamental things, simple things. When you master the base, if you want to master it, this one that we are giving here in this class, then you will have the opportunity to complete it all, to work out your own moments, to make it better than this Kung Fu. Therefore, no matter how we feel about it, we need to accept it and try it. And already in combat specifically, why are we considering all this? It's not for someone to shoot well at the range. This is life. It's for the purpose of applying it and using it in combat for our country. If you manage to apply it in battle, it will be very good. If you have circumstances when you have to shoot in a lone gunman's way with one foot on a chair and the other foot somewhere in the air, then that's the fate. And it does happen. Nevertheless, you have to accept and learn standard conditions. You have to accustom your body to standard conditions. And then we will be able to turn more of our knowledge. We'll start with Kung Fu stances. These stances are divided into 3 subtypes. The first subtype of all arrow stances is standing. Arrow stances are standing. The frontal standing post, it looks very simple. I'm going to stand here a little bit in profile. So that you can see. You have the boxing rack we talked about. You have a stove facing your opponent. And your grip, which ensures that your plate is still facing the opponent and that this stance is mobile. If you need to change your stance, if you're right-handed and you're standing in a left-handed stance, if you need to change to a right-handed stance, you do it all very simply, keeping all the same characteristics as in the previous stance. It's absolutely simple. It's the same boxing stance, the center of gravity in the center of your body. You have the ability to fire from the right side and from the left-hand side of the rack. As for the second subtype of racks, these are knee racks. There are 3 main ones. The first is the classic kneeling post. When you take your shin, your left leg, and it becomes perpendicular to the ground. The foot is placed completely on the ground. You have an angle of about level and 90 degrees between your legs in this case, and you sit down on your heel. I will demonstrate. You sit on your heel, you sit down, and we call this the principle of spreading the weight across the bones. You relax, and at the same time put the medicine ball on your body. Put it on your quadriceps, or you can put it on your knee with your triceps. The soft, hard principle must be maintained. That is, you don't put the knuckle of your elbow on your knee. In this case, you will have a bounce in your weapon when you fire, as well as instability of your hand yawning on your knee. Therefore, the soft, hard case was either loaded slightly forward or vice versa. Stretch and place it on the quadriceps. Sit tightly on the heel of your supporting leg. And yes, this is a classic kneeling stance. It's a high knee stand. You simply rise from it, thereby increasing your field of fire due to the fact that you are standing taller. And you can see further, but you will be seen further. So if you have some kind of obstacle that you can hide behind, or you need to raise your silhouette because there is vegetation, which does not allow you to see your opponent in a classic stance, you simply rise higher and take the weapon into the grip you use in a frontal stance, standing. Now low from the knee. You're tucking. Your supporting leg so that you sit on its foot. And bring your front leg out and rest your heel on the ground. This reduces your silhouette. And drive your arm forward with your triceps behind your knees. Load the weapon, take aim, and fire. In all this, your silhouette will be significantly reduced in relation to the classic kneeling position. Such a rack can be used. Stakes, there is already the same vegetation, I mentioned the vegetation, and you can't see your enemy, you can't fire properly. But with all this, when you sit down in a classic crouch, you are already very visible. That's why you crouch down and thus leave yourself a small sector of fire in the air. Therefore, if you are in a low crouching stance, you have the opportunity to fire at the enemy without raising your silhouette too much. All this while remaining quite mobile, because you can move around and you don't have to get up completely from the prone position. Now, what I was talking about is an additional rack. This is the Afghan position. When you are standing in a frontal standing position and you just squat and clamp your hands, you focus, knees, that's it. We just sat down. In the classic version, it is performed as follows. Well, it's a bit of a mess. I'll tell you that right away. You can't do anything else but grip the magazine. And the grip on the magazine is so-so. If you keep the principle of a boxing stance and crouch in it, you can very quickly reduce your silhouette. With all this, you still have a little bonus, a nuance that you can use. I'll tell you about it now. You sit down, and if you need to open the fire sector gradually, you start to just climb a little bit. And you can open the firing sector. Having dealt with the racks from the knee, and additionally, in Afghan, we can safely move on to prone positions. There are more of them. First of all, this is the classic supine position, the frontal recumbency. I'll show you. We need to take the weapon to the workspace. Get down and place your hand palm down on the ground and kick your legs out with an intense push so that you form the Latin letter Y. That is, your weapon should not be an extension of one leg. Your weapon should be as close as possible to the vector of your spine. What does it look like? You can slavishly focus on the shot. You can raise the weapon in your hands. It doesn't make much difference in this case. The main thing is that you can shoot steadily from a stable position with minimal visual silhouette for the enemy. In cases where you are in a dynamic situation and your heavy breathing can greatly affect your shooting. Believe me, it doesn't take that long to use the equipment, to breathe normally, as they say. Therefore, when you take the supine position, you can do a little life hack, take a hunting position. What is the difference between the hunting position and the frontal prone position? In the hunting position, you bend the knee of the leg with the shooting arm. That is, if I have a shooting hand, it is my right hand, and my left hand is a supporting hand. I'm going to tighten my right leg so that my diaphragm, let's demonstrate. If I feel that my breathing affects my shooting too much, I just pull up one leg and continue to fire. In all of this, my diaphragm is released and it no longer presses on the ground and accordingly does not lift me while firing. I can breathe freely without my breath affecting the shooting too much. Next, we will analyze the provisions on the right and on the left side. And yes, this is an important point. So, how do you do the lying down, standing stance, and kneeling stance positions correctly? We need an intense single movement with the legs thrown out. But the question is how to turn. And then we'll see. We take it. we throw out our leg and fire. If we need to return to a frontal standing stance, we pull up the workspace weapon to itself. Thus, when we lift it, it will not be form a lever, things, and will not bow to the ground. We pull the weapon to ourselves, pull our arm up as close to your body as possible, and with an intense push, push yourself upward and sit in a classic splits.
1.
We are in a classic knee-jerk reaction. After that, we just get up. Now, how do you get into side position? There's a great guy, Travis Helen. He shows you how to do it very well. But I have a personal question. I don't know in what situations they can be used objectively, these provisions on the side. Only if you have, perhaps they are shooting for cover and at very low level, and you have a need to look out for him lying down. Then you can take up shooting positions while lying on your side. On the right side, when you are lying on your right side, one leg is an extension of your body, the other leg is supported. Do not press your weapon very low to the ground, because while firing, your casings can return to the extraction window and cause delays in firing. Therefore, hold the weapon in a classic grip as you would if you were standing. You simply turn it over onto the barrel, and that's it. Now move to the classic front lying down position. You need to take it and give it a powerful push. Throw your legs back and run. On the left side, when practicing the lying on the left side position from a standing stand, your task is to also lower yourself onto your arm and throw out legs. Let me tell you right off the bat, it's not fast and it's not efficient. It's just a tool for you, one that you can use or not. Assume the supine position. To do this, you need to sit down and kick out your legs. The introduction of fire is carried out due to the fact that you will rise, fire, and go down. With all this, if you need to get up from the supine position, you get up into the next thing. And as you can see, I took the position high from the knee. On the opposite leg, it also takes place, just like in the classics. When can we use the positions for shooting from the knee, from opposite legs? That is, from a right-handed kneeling stance. The easiest explanation for this is if you have a shelter in front of you. You can use these racks. To complete our acrobatics, displacement, lying down. This is not a steady state, it is a dynamic exercise. But in fact, he needs to know how to do it with different types of weapons, because such a move with a PCM will be much more difficult. But it is possible. Look, assume the frontal lying position. You have taken it. You need to move 1 meter to the right. Your task is to pick up the weapon in the workspace. Press your hand and move using your right elbow. Left palm, your socks and knees. Left,